Hey guys, so here bringing you another video and welcome to another high rating spectate. This is actually a challenger spectate this time, and we're watching Master Oogway. So you know, the great turtle of Kung Fu. But no, in reality, we're watching Kai'Sa. So the reason why I want to watch Kai'Sa is I actually want to pitch you guys a question. Is Kai'Sa the perfect AD carry? The reason why I ask this is because, you know, you've got Yunara now on the enemy team and she seems pretty powerful in the right hands. You've got a lot of staple AD carries, but Kai'Sa kind of fits, to me, in practically every single comp. Whenever you're in champ select and your AD carry is picking, there's never... That was a really early barrier by the Yunara. They're going for an all-in because that's the advantage of having, obviously, a Lulu instead of a Nidalee. The Nidalee isn't the most useful in the early game. She obviously also has started W, which is the trap. So again, not the most useful level 1 in terms of helping the Kai'Sa out. But yeah, whenever you're in champ select and, you know, your AD carry's picking, I think at the moment some people, you know, me included, are a bit like, please no Lucian, please no Lucian. That never, ever will apply to a Kai'Sa. There is never a situation that someone will go, oh god, my AD carry picked Kai'Sa. Because the thing that Kai'Sa has got, she's got decent trade potential as just a normal AD carry, auto attack damage. She's got spell damage. She's got pretty much okay mobility. She eventually has stealth. She's got burst. She's got poke. And then what she also has, which I think a lot of AD carries actually lack, is build versatility. And that is something that, again, a lot of AD carries really don't have. She can go a pure AD build. She can go a crit build. She can go, obviously, an AP build. Over the years, obviously that's been like AP heavy. There is a vast amount that she can realistically do, and that's what I think could give her the title of the best AD carry of all time. So firstly, I'd like to ask you guys, do you agree with that? Or if you don't, what other AD carry would you be able to give the title of the best AD carry of all time? Because I do think it probably is Kai'Sa. The only time that she isn't relevant is when Riot have to over nerf her because she becomes too popular otherwise. That's kind of, to me, that's really telling. But Kai'Sa as a champion, just worth knowing. Lethal tempo in terms of runes, then presence of mind, then bloodline, then cut down, then biscuit delivery, magical footwear, and then attack speed, attack damage, and health. Now, obviously, it goes without saying, runes, especially when it comes to AD carry, very much can change and differ depending what support you've got. You know, Nidalee does have a heal, but it's not amazing in the early game. So, you know, where this Kai'Sa has got Bloodline, which obviously is giving lifesteal per stacks. She's got Biscuit Delivery for health regen. That's a lot of health regen-y stuff. If you were laning with a Soraka, you probably don't need those two things, and that's where you can sometimes differ and change your runes to be, let's say, efficient. And it was worth knowing, majority of League players don't do that anymore because of the kind of like, you know, the default runes that you can just click in champ select. It's worth knowing a lot of challenger players even use that. As many people have kind of pointed out, the game has been dumbed down a lot, and it is continuing to be so. In the sake, obviously, of some things to dumb it down intentionally, but in others just to make it a little bit more streamlined, you know, to give a little bit quicker ways to getting into a game, a little bit less thought, because obviously, you know, League's learning curve and even like, you know, curve just to get into the game has always been quite extreme. So yeah, like, I'm not completely opposed to that stuff. I use the automatic runes, obviously, but yeah. So as for this lane, obviously Yunara 10 farm ahead, which is a pretty decent amount of 5 minutes, by the way, for AD carries in Challenger. But realistically, it's kind of just more or less the support diff at the moment. And don't get me wrong, do I think Nidalee is a terrible support? No, not in Modern League. But she doesn't have early benefit like a Lulu does. And Lulu, obviously, will ultimately support a Yunara a lot heavier than a Nidalee. What a Nidalee can give is she can aid to poke. So with Kai'Sa W and Nidalee spears, that's a lot of poke. And she can obviously aid a lot more when it comes to all-in. Obviously, you can't really beat Lulu in terms of defense into an all-in. Look at that perfect farming, by the way. Challenger AD carries are very nice. But yeah, like Lulu is amazing against all in, like that polymorph, the Lulu ult that knocks people up. Like you can't really beat that. But overall, Nidalee not too bad. Would I recommend it? Probably not. I think you are making a game harder for yourself if you are picking something like Nidalee support, unless you are very, very good. And I say very, very good in terms of being an individual, and I also think very, very good in terms of having synergy with your AD carry, which obviously, as pure, if you're a solo queue player, you may have no natural synergy with your random lane partner. Obviously, one of the things that challenger players will clearly be very good at, they will be able to just adapt to players that are playing around them, because that's how they've gotten the challenger. In the end of the day, yes, challenger players are very good individual players. They also have to be very good team players with random people. That's the big thing that I think a lot of people don't realize. Obviously, here on EU West, and to be honest, every server, you cannot duo up to challenger. You obviously can duo in master, but the moment you're grandmaster, you cannot duo anymore. So you will every time know if there is an actual challenger player, they are legit. Because you can't, you are an individual. And when you are an individual here, it's weird. Like, they are skillful individually, but they will be looking to really work with others in a as best synergistic, that's a word, sure, synergistic way in a solo queue, vibe. So obviously team comp haven't really mentioned, but yeah, Riven on the enemy team, not too surprising. She's incredibly powerful right now. Silas again has been given jungle scaling, so do expect to see a lot of Silas because he's a nice spear. He's a very powerful champion. Obviously, he has been hotfixed. He was completely busted with his crit scaling they gave him. Obviously, it does. That's a Yunara ulti, by the way. It does kind of show they did not playtest it at all, because it was probably one of the most broken things in League ever. Like, he was literally one-shotting people early with just one crit cloak. So that's always quite funny. But yeah, Yunara, level 6 advantage, goes immediately for an ultimate. And for them, some people may be like, is that worth it for her? Yes and no. I'd say it's worth it if she got more value out of the ultimate, but what she's doing is her risk factor now will be boom, Kai'Sa's level 6, and then she would be vulnerable with her ulti. They're getting rid of that vulnerability by going back themselves. So they're basically burning the clock up of, right, I used my ultimate, it didn't really work, let's just go back, buy item, get item power spike, then go back to lane. And then obviously the Kai'Sa and the Nidalee are also taking that route as well. So it kind of neutralizes what just happened. So overall, it's not that bad. So yeah, Vlad in top lane, also very powerful champion. Very, Neferi still very strong. This is a game, I would actually argue, of some very powerful champions across the board. Vex is situationally powerful. LeBlanc is situationally powerful. Yunara very strong in the right hands. This is a challenger game, so she's in the right hands. Kai'Sa, for me, probably the best AD carry, just universally. And then Nidalee, again, similarly to Vex, in the right hands, in the right time. She's a very powerful champion. Again, you'd hope in Challenger, people are very good, so she probably is strong. And then Lulu, amazing champion. Very, very strong. So all 10 champions I would actually rate as very, very strong champions. I would say the weakest out of all of them is the Nidalee. But that's where Nidalee is just the absolutely completely dependent on the player type of champion. So if this was a gold game, I'd be a bit like, eh. But this is a challenger game, so I'm a bit like, yeah, I'm completely cool with it. And that's the thing. This Master Uguay in challenger, would you be nervous in your own solo queue game, being like, oh, I've got a Nidalee support? You probably would be a little bit nervous. But being a challenger AD carry, he's probably not that nervous having a Nidalee. Yeah, it's a bit annoying maybe not having that as strong early game, because you're going to be as a little bit at a disadvantage early. But a Nidalee can make up a lot in mid to late game. So Kai'Sa's probably going to ulti. Big fear by Vex with a good ulti. And now obviously Yunara is in trouble too. So that, again, being a challenger game with 10 minutes in the game, and we've only got 4 kills with 2 of them just happening. Vex hit an ultimate, which is a really long range one. LeBlanc finally made her way here. Nidalee healed, trying to do as much as he can. Kai'Sa gets another kill, and this is what a Kai'Sa can do. Again, you can tell which is the real one because it had the Nidalee mark on it, and that the clone will not copy that. So boom, that's what a Kai'Sa can do, is the mobility, it's the damage, which is pretty decent even early. She just got herself a triple kill, 1 assist, and now suddenly she's ahead in farm. Yunara got nothing in that situation, and now she is miles ahead. And that's the thing that I think a Kai'Sa can do, arguably better than most other AD carries. Like, even strong AD carries that people like go, oh, Draven can't do that. Like, he would have been able to throw his ulti and maybe help and or get maybe an execute. But Kai'Sa can just, you know, get into a fight basically quicker than any other AD carry. Which, you know, sometimes you're using that as a defensive thing because you can reposition and get the shield. But when you are feeling confident and when you're strong, it's really hard to stop a Kai'Sa because she just runs you down. And now look at the body language, you know, arguably of this Yunara. She's been playing confident, she's been playing up front, and now you can already see in her positioning, like, she's thinking about it more than she was before. And her item advantage, Kai'Sa's got a Kraken with a pickaxe. Like, it's a huge item swing in bot lane now with red buff. So look how much damage this Yunara's just randomly taken after the last couple of, like, little bits of poke. With now Nidalee heals, because if I had to guess, look at that damage. Let's see, the Nidalee, yeah, she's maxing heal, because that's the thing it's worth knowing. If anybody's like, I'm going to try Nidalee support, you max heal. The reason why, yes, it's not absolutely maximum damage output, but fundamentally you are still playing support, and you're wanting to try and get your AD carry as strong as possible. So giving extra sustain to your AD carry is being a support. So that's the thing, is if your champion has an element of support to it, you know, if you're playing Brand, there's nothing really you can do to be more supporty, so you just go damage. But if you're playing a champion that can do support elements, then why not do it? You know, there are swings and roundabouts to it, like Lux, she has a shield. Do you max shield? Probably not. Karma, she has a shield. Do you max shield? Probably not. But a heal is different to a shield, you know? Alright, so Yunara running forward does get damaged a little bit to the Neferi. She is actually going like this. You can tell this player, by the way, the Silas was obviously nearby, but this Yunara player is very aggro. But here we go once again. Big damage output. Polymorph coming in maybe a bit too early, arguably. And now Kai'Sa is going to be chasing down with the ultimate. Manages to probably finish off the Silas. And there you go. Took a little while. Bit of a chaotic fight overall. Neferi does kill the LeBlanc clone. Nidalee going to do her best to survive. Does survive just LeBlanc damage. Not enough. And that will be the end of the fight. So Yunara did get herself one kill from that fight, so at least she's on the board, but Kai'Sa still gained more. And that's the thing that I think, for me, that really does cement Kai'Sa as arguably the best AD carry, is the amount of choice that she has. And most AD carries, they have to make an actual choice of, am I actually taking part in this fight, or am I running away? Kai'Sa can do both, because she can do the running away bit first, you reposition, scout out where can go, and then she can jump in with her ultimate at the right time and make that decision herself. Majority of AD carries either have to just go all in, like this Yunara, boom, I'm fighting you, wish me luck, or I'm leaving straight away. Kai'Sa can do both. She can even decide, I'm going to go in and I'm going to fight, and then with her ultimate, obviously it's not a huge range to escape, but you can even try to escape with your ultimate. And even when you eventually get the upgrades, the E gives her a stealth. That's a great escape tool as well. Movement speed and stealth. So, yeah, I would argue she is the best AD carry. Again, not that hard to play. You know, her Q, which is a major damage source of hers, auto-aims itself. W, obviously, that's a skill shot. But if you're decently accurate with it, obviously eventually gets a cooldown reset. So yeah, I think she is a very strong champion. So it is worth mentioning that his first tower, Riven was close to get it in top lane because Vlad has been struggling a little bit. Which, yeah, I think Vlad, he's not a perfect top laner. He can play top, but he's not a perfect top laner. I'm not too surprised he's struggling against an Ignite Riven. Riven is really strong right now. And arguably, that Riven is probably a one-trick because they all are. It is worth mentioning, I don't even think I uploaded it as a video. I might even need to go back and upload it because it was actually an interesting video. Talking of Vladimir, I laned with Elite, I think his name is Elite 500 recently, because apparently a bunch of content creators here in the EU West are doing a AD carry climb challenge. And I think the premise of it is AD carries are often the most vocal players about complaining than pretty much any. And I think a lot of the content creators who are not AD carries, it was kind of two areas. Got annoyed with AD carries being always complainy, so they wanted to see for themselves what it's all about. And obviously the Hecarim guy failed his climb. So a lot of them were like, well, if he failed his climb, is it that hard? it's been, you know, a lot of them are doing fine. So like AZAP has done his climb, Elite 500's doing it, and a few of them are doing completely fine. I think obviously being a Hecarim one trick is probably limiting him more skill than like a Vel'Koz or something like that. But yeah. So yeah, I laned with Elite 500 on his AD carry climbing account. I might have to go back and find that video and actually upload that, because yeah, it was pretty decent. So maybe in this week that'll be uploaded, and it might be out of a little bit of chronological order, but I think I actually forgot to upload it. And I also deleted a bunch of, I deleted a bunch of edited videos off my hard drive earlier today. I didn't delete raw footage. That's good. All right, enemy team, you could say, has got the momentum a bit here. So red team is on the little bit of the back foot. Vex is getting a tier 2, which is huge value. Kai'Sa ulting in aggressively for the Yunara. She's out of position. Barriers, though, without really taking much damage. Neferi goes in. The barrier would have been better timed then. Riven, though, is the scary target, but she does go down. And now Lulu out of position. Good spear. Vladimir gets himself on the board. So arguably the momentum shifted a little bit to blue team, but what they basically did was they risked too much. It's that simple. They risked way too much. They overstayed their welcome with limited numbers. There was only 3 of them fully there, and they paid the ultimate price. So, yeah. And again, Kai'Sa can do this. She can run around the map. She's got a movement speed steroid. Again, her ultimate, she can choose to, you know, if she's getting into a fight, but she's a bit far away. You know, most AD carries can't do much. Kai'Sa can fly into the fight. So, hopefully, I'm making some good points of why I think Kai'Sa is potentially the AD carry. Oh, I wouldn't do that if I was them. So it's worth mentioning, when the AD carry, and I will say this isn't just a Kai'Sa thing, when the AD carry is the same level as you and you're the jungler, I don't think I would go for a fight. Often that would mean you're going to lose, because AD carry they're incredibly powerful. They are the carry of League of Legends. Make no mistake, they truly are. And you know, look at how often team comps are usually built. More or less, it's supposed to be to protect the AD carry, to shelter them, or play around them to let them hyper carry. That is often what the game has been balanced in the last over a decade now. And that's why I'm not a massive fan of playing early game AD carries. You know, I'm just not. Even Draven, I would rather my AD carry to play something for mid to late game than early game, because it's that eventual premise of we're going to group and you're the hyper carry. And if it's a Lucian or a Draven or something, and you know, I'd say Draven's better, but even early game stuff, I'm just like, you don't have this actual full carry potential. But if you've got a Yunara, Kog'Maw, Kai'Sa, you know, there are even other champs that are okay, like Caitlyn and stuff, but yeah. So unfortunately, for the enemy team, they are on the back foot. Vex nearly goes down, but just survives. Again, Sylas still very, very strong. The Rift Herald obviously did break open the tower, but that's all it gained. You know, 90 minutes into the game, it's not that bad to lose a tier 1, so I don't think that's the worst thing. Kai'Sa being a bit careful. Obviously, I've put the camera... I haven't, actually. I'm a bit of a dum-dum. I forgot. I should have had it on red team perspective. I did not have that, so apologies. So, yeah, I'm not actually fully sure of the Kai'Sa, because she was positioning quite reserved back here. Did she see? Did she have vision in that bush? She may have. But yeah, dragon spawning soon. Obviously, red team has got both dragons. Gold lead, only like nearly 3,000-ish gold lead right now, which again is significant. But you have to remember, a 3,000 gold lead is spread by 5 different players, so it isn't as much as people think. And you know, the Riven will be vastly ahead of the Vladimir, but the Kai'Sa will be vastly ahead of the Yunara. So it does vary where the gold leads are. So we're in definitely a world that the enemy team is not out of this game by any means. You know, 1 or 2 bad team fights, sure, and obviously Atakan has spawned, Dragon is spawning, so this is these moments that you definitely know something big is going to happen. When there's 2 objectives, like an Atakan and a Dragon at the same time, it should pretty much always be a straight up 4v4 or a 5v5 big team fight, and whichever team wins the team fight arguably is going to get both of those objectives, and it basically snowballs the game in insane amounts. Again, I'm kind of cool with Atakan and stuff. I think it's been an interesting premise having another objective in the game. Oh, that was Kai'Sa ulti. That was a mistake by Kai'Sa. So I would say actually your first biggest mistake this player has made was that ulti, you know, not having now the ulti to perfectly reposition during the actual team fight. I think is going to be a mistake, because like there, really good engage by the Vex, double kill on the enemy bot lane, both kills on the Kai'Sa with her damage being so high, and now the enemy team is on the back foot. Silence goes down. So yeah, absolute disaster for the enemy. The enemy bot lane just were caught kind of napping there, to be honest, by the Vex ulti. And as I said, when one team gets the momentum, it's not just Dragon, it's also Atacan. This is the only element that I'd say I like Atacan, but with it being so close to a Dragon, it really feels like a really huge snowball effect when this happens. When an Atacan and a Dragon are at the same time, it's not that, okay, we lost the fight. Normally when you lose a fight, especially around 20 minutes, you lose one objective. And it hurts, but it's like, But when Atacan and Dragon are at the same time, which is often the case, you're losing both. And it does feel a bit rough. And I remember talking to the Riot devs when they were introducing it, and there's another engage coming through. Kai'Sa's going to be in the area. Nidalee finished off the kill, which again, not many supports can do that. Kai'Sa damage just obliterates the Lulu. But as I was saying, when I was talking to the Riot devs, I actually said, why didn't you put it like in an alcove up here or an alcove down there? And they actually said they really seriously considered that. They did test that. But what they didn't like is it was basically like a choke point. So the team that went there first would often get killed because they were then stuck in that choke point. But I in my head was like, that's actually not, to me, not the worst thing, because if you're going for it when the enemy team is alive, you're taking the ultimate risk. So I actually didn't really despise that idea. Look at this damage by Kai'Sa into the Vex ultimate, and that's another kill. So obviously I will say this Sylas is not having the best of game. If anything, and this is the kind of the contradiction when you're playing Sylas, he needs to play a bit more reserved. The reason being is Sylas is a very aggressive champion, and this is where probably people are getting used to jungling on Sylas again. He's a very aggressive champion, and you can play him hyper aggressive just because of the way of the champion. But when you're jungling, he is the line of his team, you know, being the ticket of, oh, we've killed the jungler, Dragon is free. Oh, we've killed the jungler, Atacan is free. Oh, we've killed the jungler, Baron is free. When you're jungling, you have to be the extra step careful, because if you're the one that gets caught and killed, the enemy team often can achieve so much more. And I think that's, again, a lot of junglers don't really realize that. A lot of junglers get killed at the wrong times, and they are like, I'm dead. And it's like, yeah, with you dead, the enemy team can just do whatever they want. And that's how you often snowball games, is through objectives. That's, you know, objectives give actual extra strength to a team, not just gold. So that's where, again, and I know people hate doing it, but that playing the extra little bit reserve is often worth it when you're playing jungle. So yeah, Riven ulti. What the hell? Whoa! What? That was LeBlanc going for an insane engage. Yunara ulting, Kai'Sa doing her best, does get healed by Nidalee, then has obviously got the Zhonya component, by the way, flashes out with the ulti, which again shields herself, which is what I'm talking about. And what other AD carry realistically would have survived that? You know, again, it's where her damage profile in the game right now, and look at the Nidalee heals, very nice, but she's doing so much AD damage, and that's the surrender vote, by the way, but she can build hybrid, which again, historically, and I've said this for a while, hybrid has always been a very strong way of League of Legends. It's arguably not healthy. And a few years ago, Riot basically got rid of hybrid builds because it was near enough unbalanceable, because you're getting the best of both worlds. That's the strength to it. So the fact that Kai'Sa is doing a lot of AD damage, but also AP damage, and then she gets access to an AP item like Zhonya's, no other AD carry gets to do that. And she gets to reposition, and she gets to have stealth. Like, it's a lot. And it's kind of like, you know, the recent thing with Maud is Maud getting his AD ratio and his Q. It opens up strong AD items for Mordekaiser, and that's the bigger result. It opens up, you know, Hexplate or whatever it's called for him. It opens up Spira Shojin for him. That's what these type of things do when you can start to build hybrid, is usually there's like a top tier of items that are really strong. But if you're playing an AD item, AD champion, sorry, you use the AP strong items, because why would you? Or if you're playing an AP champion, you can't use the AP strong items, because again, that wouldn't make sense. But when a champion can go hybrid like Kai'Sa, you get to pick and choose which are the best items for you. And Zhonya's as an AD carry, which again, remember, AD carries are the carry of League. They're going to be focused. They're going to try and get one shot. You're just giving yourself, what is it, 2.5 or 3 second invulnerability? Like, it's huge. No other AD carry can realistically buy that without being a bit of a weird build. It's in part of Kai'Sa's natural build. So yeah, I think Kai'Sa's potentially the strongest AD carry. I'd love to hear what you guys think. This was a challenging game. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, do throw a like on it, throw a comment, throw a subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Welcome to the Rift, where the legends play. It's us and games bringing skill every day. From tips to tricks and play so fine. You'll learn the game and have a good time. Thanks for watching, you're the real MVP. Hit that like and sub, join the family tree. Like, comment, and subscribe. Keep the Huzzy dream alive. Tune in on Twitch, it's the place to be. Huzzy Games Live.